It's something that I realize is that don't reject information simply because you haven't heard it before, simply because it's new information. Like sometimes it's difficult to receive new information because of your programming, because you've been told all your life that family sticks together, because you've been told all your life that this is who God is to you, some man in the sky. So the first time you hear something that's different than that, it's difficult to digest, just like if you were told that you were going to start eating cereal with water instead of milk. Most people would frown at that. Like, you don't do that. You only don't do that because you've been doing it this way your entire life. But if you would have grown up somewhere else, maybe you wouldn't even eat cereal. Maybe you would worship a different God. Maybe you would dress and talk different, and that would be your normal too. Our normal is based on the programs and the conditioning we received, the messages we received in our early childhood. But as an adult, you get to challenge the generational information and conditioning that you've been conditioned to believe your whole childhood and now adult life. People talk about I'm a truth seeker, but you can't be a seeker of truth if you're unwilling to accept anything outside of what's been taught to you. You'd have to be willing to accept new information in order for you to seek the truth, because you can't assume that the truth is what you've been told for generations and generations and generations. What your parents taught you oftentimes is the same things that their parents taught them. So who actually is the truth seeker if we're all just perpetuating and recreating the generation before the last? This is how you know you're repeating patterns in your family. There's all these generations of police officers. There's all these generations of unwed mothers. There's all these generations of single parents. There's all these generations of absent fathers. Your great-great-grandmother was a teacher, and your great-great-grandmother was a teacher, and your great-grandmother was a teacher, and your mother was a teacher, and now you're a teacher. That's generational information passed down because you applied that information. Remember, knowledge applied is power. But it also can be a hindrance to you when you don't even have the ability to think for yourself. Well, they did it, and I guess you think that their life turned out all right because you followed in the same footsteps. So what you did was just repeat a pattern of the generation before then, and you're expecting a different result. And how likely is your lifestyle parallel to that parent or to that whoever you are modeling after, to their lifestyle? A lot of times, that's why you have generations of the same thing, because we've repeated the same pattern, and that's why it's called generational dysfunction. That's why it's called generational curses, because no one's bold enough to go against the grain. Even a family community can be peer pressure because no one's willing to do anything different to get a different result. Because it's too uncomfortable to go against the grain. It's too uncomfortable to seem like you're the person who's disrupting the pattern, to be the person who is different than everyone else. Because there's comfort and familiarity. But what if that's the problem? Maybe we don't need to be so familiar and so comfortable. Remember, we were born autonomous. So if we were born autonomous, that means we have autonomy, and we weren't made to be molded into our mother, our grandmother, our aunts and uncles. We were made to be ourselves. And so that might be a little uncomfortable if you're going to grow into your true, authentic self. If you're going to be healthy, if you're going to be whole, you might have to push against the grain of what you know. And so to seek the truth doesn't always look like, they say that the truth hurts and then it will set you free. Maybe that applies to family too. Maybe that applies to your close friends. Maybe that applies to your life. If you seek the truth and not what you've been conditioned to believe, it will set you free.